What's going on, you guys? Damocles here, and welcome back to the 5th episode of my Pokemon Unite Beginner Basics series. Today we're going to be talking about the support role. The support role is traditionally the least popular, but potentially most impactful role in any MOBA ever. So if you like setting up your team for some big plays, or you just like being generally annoying to the enemy team, stick around and watch this video because you might be a support player. Let's hop into it. Alright, so your supports can do a lot of stuff, okay? I mean, they are your enablers, your disablers, your debuffers, your buffers, your healers, your engage, your disengage. They can do a lot of stuff, and it takes a real special person to play a support, and it even takes a more special person to play support well, because to some degree you have to be selfless. You want to want that victory more than you want to show off a bunch of kills and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, supports are there to set up plays, to debuff the enemy team, to make it so your team has a much easier path to victory. And you can ask any veteran MOBA player ever, having a good support, night and day difference in a game. Night and day difference, especially a carry player. I will tell you, because you get paired with supports a lot, it's so important to have a good support, and it makes a difference. You should put a big spotlight on your support player. Even if they're not getting a bunch of kills, they are helping you to get a bunch of kills. So they are very, very, very important. And so what do supports do? What do they do? Supports are there to, you know, alongside the laundry list of things I just rattled off, they can do stuff that most other things can't do, what most other roles can't do, right? Like setting up impassable walls, like light screen, or debuffing enemies and swapping their stats around. Or maybe they can go and they can heal and increase your entire team's movement speed. Like, these things, they sound small. They sound small, but the reality is that, like, certain things in MOBAs, like increasing movement speed in general, you could go and you could change an entire team comp with something like that. Like, you go and take a really slow team comp, but then if you slap like an Eldegoss on it that can all of a sudden buff your whole team's movement speed, then that team goes from having 0 engage and not being able to chase down anybody to all of a sudden having a ton of engage and being able to chase down everyone. Like, stuff like that. It's why the support is the glue that holds everything together. And, you know, shout out to all my support players. Let's talk about like what you actually do in the context of like lanes and stuff in traditional MOBAs as well. And something that you might want to keep in mind that you maybe didn't think about if you're just starting off in MOBAs. So in traditional MOBAs, like League of Legends, for example, you have more than one system of character progression in a match, right? You have character experience, like you have in Pokemon Unite, but you also have like gold economy, where you can buy items and stuff. And so that changes how support plays with a carry. In League of Legends, for example, the support will not touch anything. They will not last hit or try and get the final hit on a creep or a neutral monster so that their carry can go and get that final hit and get the extra gold, get the extra XP, so that they can push their carry into the late game as fast as possible, because that's the name of the game, right? Enabling the rest of your team to succeed. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be just your normal, you know, marksman or AD carry like a Cinderace. It could be an Absol in the jungle, supporting them, getting them, not actually following them in the jungle. You're still going to be in lane, but like going and setting up plays for them. It could be anything. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is because you could do similar things in Pokemon Unite. You can go and, instead of going and hitting, you know, a Vespiquen in the middle of bottom lane or something like that, right? Instead of going and sharing the XP with your laner, you could go and potentially give your laner that solo XP all on his own, so that he gets a bump up in a level, and so that he gets to unlock an ability that he wouldn't have had unlocked if he was sharing XP with you the entire time. Or like maybe, you know, you let him get the last hit on an enemy, like on an enemy Pokemon or something, so that he can go and get the experience. Just like things like that, where you're bumping your carry up way ahead of everybody else. Now, I'm not saying to go and, you know, sacrifice your entire game. I'm not saying to go and do this all the time. I'm just saying this to put it in your head that it's a potential possibility. okay? Because I'm not even 100% sure if like last hitting necessarily has a massive bonus in terms of XP gain in this game. I'm more speaking about proximity wise, the importance of, you know, sharing XP versus not sharing XP. Now, the reason why I have to put the disclaimer is because you do not want to just go and AFK and have your teammate like 1v2 bottom lane. That's ridiculous. And they definitely need help clearing some of these things. But I'm just saying, you know, throughout the course of the game, you might go and be in a situation where maybe your what's a good example? I mean, I guess I could just use Vespa Queen again. Your teammate, your carry's going for Vespa Queen, and the enemy team is trying to go and prevent you from getting Vespa Queen, or they're trying to push you off Vespa Queen. Maybe you just don't go and hit Vespa Queen at all. Maybe you just go and literally just keep pushing, keep poking at the enemy team so that they don't get it, but at least somebody on your team does get it, right? And the same thing can apply with like anything, right? Any objective. You can go and say, maybe you don't go and hit the Rotom. You don't go and deal damage to the Rotom. You just go and try and prevent the enemy team from getting to Rotom. You go and post up as Mr. Mime over by this APOM, and you put a bunch of barriers so that they can't do anything. Like things like that. Like you have to be selfless. And it's not even just an experience thing. It's a overall just mindset of like, your whole team could be fighting Zapdos. If you're a Mr. Mime, do you need to be hitting Zapdos? Are you going to be that helpful when hitting Zapdos? No, you're not. You would be infinitely more helpful going and standing right here in between Zapdos and their jungle and putting up a bunch of light screens so that they can't get by and contest it. They can't get by and steal it. So like you need to think about this stuff positioning constantly, right? Constantly. Just think like, what can I do to set my team up for success? And the same thing applies when you are in lane in a fight or when you're in a team fight. So if you are playing as, you know what, we'll just keep using Mr. Mime as an example. If your team is, you know, say you have an Absol jungle coming down to gank for you. You got Mr. Mime. Toss a light screen behind an enemy, or try and goad the enemy team into attacking you, and then slap a light screen down so that they can't escape, so then Absol and your carry can come get a kill. Right? Like, look for plays constantly, because that's what you're there for. You're able to make plays for your carry. You're able to protect them as well. So if you're going and your carry's getting attacked and he's walking backwards, you want to space yourself just like similar to how a defender would, depending on the character that you're playing. Maybe get in between them and the enemy so that they can go and survive and do an outplay. Or set up a light screen directly in front of them so that they can keep hitting the enemy, but the enemy can't hit them. Or even do a guard swap, do anything. Like, you want to be constantly CCing. As far as teamwork is concerned, as far as team fights are concerned, you're not a frontliner. You're not necessarily a backliner. You're an in-between-ish-er, because you want to go and protect your carry. That should be your goal, is preventing people from jumping onto your carry while you're setting up plays. And this is just heavy lies the crown with supports, guys. Like, you got a lot of stuff that you want to be juggling, but for the most part, protect your backline, protect your carry, make it so, like, you know, maybe if you're playing Wigglytuff, you go and you slap the crap out of somebody and, you know, you stun them or you knock them back so that they can't get to your carry, but so that everybody else can jump on them. Or maybe you go and you try and slap their carry while at the same time running back and, you know, popping your Unite move on your carry so that it cleanses him so that he's not stunned anymore by a Machamp or something like that. Like, all this type of stuff is what you need to be thinking about when you're playing a support. You're going to be disengaging, engaging, buffing, debuffing, and every little bit helps. Like, certain things you might think is just like, oh, you know what? Like, I'm playing a support. Maybe I'll just go all damage. I'll just run the damage route. You know, try and do some flashy stuff. And that works. That's cool, but there's also just a lot of stuff, like debuffs are not super plentiful in Pokemon Unite, and either are buffs for the most part. So like if you're able to go and like weaken an enemy in any way, if you're able to go and speed up your carry, especially like a Cinderace and Absol, if you're able to make it so they're more easily able to access the enemy backline, like the enemy team won't know what hit them. Like it will literally change the course of a game just by, you doing what you're doing. And especially in the case of Eldegoss, like you have heals. Heals are huge. Heals are huge. Because the only form of, you don't have items in this game, right? There's no, there's no consumables that you can just like munch on, aside from, if you're running like a potion where you're grabbing the berry that's in lane. So like having extra sustain means that you can stay in lane longer. It means that you can go and get more experience for your laner because you can stay in lane longer than the enemy can. Like if they're not running a support or something like that. Everything has, this like equivalent, not equivalent exchange, that's some Full Metal Alchemist stuff, but like everything has like a give and take, right? Or like a repercussion. And being able to go and debuff people like supports can, it can change the course of a team fight, it can change the course of a game, and if you have a good carry player and they are partnered with a good support player, it is an absolute nightmare to run into. An absolute nightmare, people. And you might not have seen it in the beta because people were absolutely awful. But if you've watched a normal MOBA, or if you've seen some like better Pokemon Unite players, the way that a support and a carry can play around each other, you can just stomp enemy teams, right? Like you can just stomp enemy teams. And this, I mean, you can kind of interchange some of the stuff I'm saying with supports with some of the stuff I said about defenders, because you are still playing a supportive role, but there's just some things that supports can do that other characters just can't do that really, I mean, it changes the course of a fight. And I really should put like a word count to see how many times I say it in this game, but it's just so true. And I guess while we're here, I might as well be talking about Disengage. Disengage is the opposite of Engage, right? We talked about Engage, I think, in the All-Rounders video. Disengage is when, sorry, my nose is so freaking itchy. Disengage is when you are disengaging from a team fight. And for the most part, that could be like knocking people away, that could be stunning people, that could be putting up a wall or something like that. Anything that's going to prevent the enemy team from getting to you. And the reason why it's important is there's certain compositions where you don't want to be in a head-on fight with an enemy team. Or maybe you have an enemy team that is really great at engaging early on. They want to push their early game advantage, but your team is a later game team, so you don't want to let them take those early team fights. And so it's important to be able to perform disengage. So supports in particular are really good at that because you have things like Mr. Mime Wall, you have things like Eldegoss Speed Buff, you have things like Wigglytuff Slows, or Wigglytuff slows, and you have like stuff like Wigglytuff's Unite move. I mean, obviously Unite moves are great, but like being able to cleanse a hindrance, meaning something that is slowing you or preventing you from doing something. So if their enemy team has a Lucario Snorlax Engage where they're just diving you and your carry's getting blown up and you want to keep disengaging from team fights, you can go and pop your Star Recital, cleanse your team of debuffs and stuff, and get away. And it might not seem like a victory because you didn't win a team fight, you didn't kill the enemy team, but it's a victory because they expended, resources and time to try and take you out, and you prevented any losses on your end. You prevented your team from taking any significant losses, which means that as the game rolls into late game and you are stronger, when they go and they want to fight later on, they're going to get steamrolled because they're running that early game team composition. I'm going to go into more detail in some other videos, but this is the third video I'm recording today, and I think I am starting to lose my brain a little bit. So let me know if I missed anything. Let me know what your thoughts are. And, you know, again, metas change. We don't know exactly how the game is going to end up actually, you know, like shaking out. I'm just throwing out some concepts that are true in most MOBAs so that you have something to think about. That doesn't mean, you know, I'm telling you to go and not kill any enemies with your carry or with your duo partner. I'm just saying, think about experience as a whole. Think about getting your carry ahead. That needs to be the mindset that you're in. Thank you guys so much. The next video in the beginner series will be coming out soon, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe for more. It's gonna be it for me, guys. Damocles out.